with a feeling of helplessness. Instead, they heard a whole lot of old promises, many of which have been unkept. But if you've heard a throne speech before, it is clear the PLP has simply rehashed old promises, hoping that nobody caught on. With Christmas around the corner, imagine receiving a gift from your loved one that was found in the back of a closet, so they simply rewrapped it in shiny new paper and gave it a different name. To the people of Bermuda, the theme of this year's speech should have been promises made, promises broken, because for the most part, that's what it is. The government says it will do more to address youth violence, but isn't that what the Gang Prevention Unit was supposed to do? Hundreds of thousands of dollars and a number of deaths later. Yet here we are today. Lawlessness on this island still continues. One would think the throne speech would have addressed the youth in Bermuda overall, but sadly, not one word. It's obvious government doesn't value their vote, but our youth are our future. Where was the mention of creating better tomorrows for them via educational and employment opportunities? Where is the plan to entice them to remain in Bermuda instead of leaving the island for greener pastures and creating a brain drain? Promises made, promises broken. The Progressive Labour Party government has been in power for the majority of the last 25 years, and there is still no universal health care. Insurance companies are merging and purchasing health service providers. Businesses are doing what they have to do in order to survive, and we have the Progressive Labour Party government to thank for this. Where are the vertical farms that the government has mentioned in the past? If nothing else, the pandemic taught us that Bermuda needs a proper strategy for food security. When we become the government, this will be a priority. Let's touch on education reform. We have heard from just about every stakeholder in this community that many of our students within the Bermuda public school system are not receiving the quality of education they deserve. Currently, the system is under reform, but what is actually happening? The plan for signature schools does not appear to be working, yet the government announces that they are going to be executing the plan at Sands Secondary Middle School. But that begs the question, why would you add another school into a plan that is not working already, instead of fixing the ones that aren't operating optimally? Promises made, promises broken. Regarding our seniors, the government is saying it is giving seniors the opportunity to work longer, but in reality, they are being forced to extend their working life in order to survive the eye-watering costs of living in Bermuda. This speech was simply a lot of gifts that have been repurposed and tweaked here and there. There was nothing to get excited about, and to be frank, it was a disappointment. The Progressive Labour Party government has proven that it has no clear strategy to improve the island. Bermuda needs to be audited from top to bottom. The government is trying to solve problems that it has in fact created, and it expects us to think that it's doing something new. The throne speech's theme is a fairer Bermuda for all. But how is it fair when Bermudians can't secure affordable housing? When there were no big contracts awarded during the pandemic? When the former Attorney General awards her husband a lucrative contract? Does that seem fair to you? Where we are today is the house that Bert built. It's a mess, and it's clear the Progressive Labour Party government is no longer qualified to return this island to prosperity. There doesn't appear to be a clear vision for the country. It is just throwing old ideas up against the wall with the hope that something will stick. Thank you very much. We'll take questions now.
Thank you. Elisa Bernardo with Bermuda Broadcasting News. Good afternoon, Mr. Richardson.
Good afternoon.
You said that the throne speech today came as a disappointment, and you mentioned an absence of the youth. Were there any other topics that you thought were missing that should have been addressed?
Well, yes, we certainly didn't address growing the population. We know that some time ago the aging demographics report was issued, and we're well aware, even cabinet ministers have said that we have to grow the population, and again, there's nothing substantive and barely a mention about growing the population. There is no mention about empowering the police. There was no mention about how they're going to secure more teachers, how to get back into accountabilities, what they're going to do to restore the trust of the public. We still have a number of outstanding matters, including the National Sports Center and other areas of concern. They're not dealing with the probate laws that are leading to the derelict houses. They're not touching on the food security, road repair. So there's just a litany of things they've left out.
Understood. And how do you interpret government's belief that critical immigration decisions should involve Bermuda's elected government rather than the UK?
Well, yes. Immigration decisions are for Bermuda, for Bermudians. So as a principle, that's accurate.
So you would support that notion?
Well, it depends on the details, because we definitely support the principle that Bermudians should be making decisions about who is in Bermuda.
Okay. And taxi drivers, as we all know, have long been calling for reform of the industry. Do you think that payroll tax cuts go far? I
think the taxi drivers have far more than concerns about payroll taxes. They have a laundry list of issues that the government hasn't dealt with, and that's why they're not supporting this government. And this government should stop trying to hand out trinkets and start doing real hard work. And the taxi drivers have already given them the list.
Okay. And on the topic of national debt and managing excess funds generated from the CIT, do you support projections stated in the throne speech that in the next 10 years, the governments should have enough in excess tax receipts to eliminate our national debt?
The government is really good at talking, but not good at substantiating those points. So we have not seen any information that would substantiate that belief. And this is part of our frustration with this government, is that they will stand and publicly make such statements, but if you were to ask for them, and when we do ask for them via parliamentary questions and other mechanisms, they go quiet, or they say they don't have to report, or the report's not ready. A great example is the cybersecurity report that they say they're acting on already, and they just like to say things, but they won't substantiate them with reports. So we really have no idea if what they're saying is accurate.
Okay. And lastly, it was announced that government will commence consultations on amendments to legislation to allow scrutiny of local mergers and acquisitions that concentrate, significant power in essential factors. What is your view on this?
Sounds like they're going to do some more talking to each other. That's what it sounds like.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Alvin Solomon. I'm from the Royal Gazette. I have one question. It has to do with cost of living.
Mm-hmm.
It was mentioned today by the government that the government admitted that there's a pressing issue of a disparity in salaries between the public sector salaries and the market standards.
Mm-hmm.
What is your view on this and how this can be addressed?
It'd be interesting to see the reports they're using to establish that. So they mentioned an EY report. That would be great for us to look at in the opposition. They also mentioned a report as it relates to the Bermudiana. We would love to see that report as well. Again, a lot of statements, but no substantiation on the actual information that they say they have when they're making these decisions. But the cost of living crisis expands far beyond. Bermuda is experiencing a death by 1,000 cuts, and so the government has a lot of work to do to recover Bermuda from the cost of living crisis.
Do you think there are short-term measures that could be implemented to fix the situation?
The cost of living crisis? Yes, they have to be implemented across those areas, though. So we mentioned before about food, housing, and energy. There's short-term measures that can be applied into each one of those, but we have to be quite specific about each one of those. And that's not what we're seeing here. We're seeing as if someone's taken a bucket of paint and just thrown it against the wall and said, we're going to fix the color of the room. And it's just not going to work if we keep doing things this way. Thank you so much.